What if every whisper of the wind carried a secret, and every rustle of leaves hinted at a truth long buried? As I patrolled the winding trails of Yosemite National Park, that thought clung to me like the scent of pine in the air. I was Elias Thorne, a park ranger who had traded the cacophony of city life in San Francisco for the serene embrace of nature. For years, I had immersed myself in the beauty of these mountains, seeking solace in their grandeur and a connection to a world. I felt slipping away in the urban sprawl. Yet, with each passing day, the tranquility I had yearned for began to fray, revealing a darker undercurrent that coursed through the very roots of the forest. It was a night like any other, the stars twinkling overhead like scattered diamonds, when I stumbled upon something that would change everything. There, in the dim glow of my flashlight, stood a weathered wooden plaque, half buried in the earth. My heart raced as I approached, the beam of light illuminating the names etched upon its surface, each one a testament to the guardians of this wilderness. And then I saw it, my own name slashed through with a jagged line of crimson paint. A chill crept down my spine as I read the note that lay beside it, the handwriting shaky and urgent. They are not lost, they are waiting. I had always cherished the stories of the park's history, but this was different. In recent months, unsettling events had begun to unfold. Campers returned with tales of disembodied voices echoing through the trees, of animals darting away as if sensing an unseen predator. I had brushed these off as figments of overactive imaginations, yet deep down, an unsettling feeling had begun to take root within me. It was as if the forest itself was alive, watching, waiting. Weeks earlier, while exploring a hidden cave near Hetch Hetchy, I had unearthed an ancient diary belonging to one of the park's first rangers. Its pages were filled with accounts of a pact, a dark agreement between the forest's guardians and a primordial entity that dwelled within the very heart of the woods. The words leapt off the pages, igniting a sense of foreboding that I could not shake. I felt a connection to the Bay Rangers of the past, their struggles becoming my own as I pieced together the implications of their legacy. Could it be that they hadn't vanished, but had been taken, sacrificed, to appease whatever dwelled in the shadows? As I stood there, the cool night air pressed against my skin, and a sudden rustling in the underbrush caught my attention. My pulse quickened. The forest was alive, but not in the way I had always believed. I turned, straining to see what lurked within the darkness. Was it a deer, a bear, or something far more sinister? My instincts screamed at me to flee, but my feet were rooted to the ground, caught in the web of uncertainty that had ensnared me. The mountains of Yosemite, with their towering granite cliffs and whispering pines, had become a labyrinth of secrets, and I was at its center, a reluctant player in a game with stakes I could scarcely comprehend. The weight of the past pressed heavily on my shoulders, and as I felt the chilling breath of the forest against my neck, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, not by the familiar eyes of nature, but by something far older, far more powerful. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As I stood frozen, the rustling in the underbrush grew louder, and I felt the air shift, heavy with anticipation. I took a cautious step back, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall woman with wild, tangled hair and eyes that glimmered like the moonlight filtering through the trees. She wore a tattered green jacket, reminiscent of the park's uniform, but it was stained and frayed, as if she had been lost in the wilderness for years. Elias Thorne, isn't it? Her voice was low and melodic, yet laced with an urgency that sent shivers down my spine. You shouldn't be out here alone. Who are you? I stammered, trying to gauge whether she was friend or foe. What do you know about me? I'm Mira, she replied, stepping closer, her gaze piercing through the darkness. I've been watching you. You're in danger, and so is the park. The past isn't just buried here, it's alive, and it remembers. My mind raced. I had spent countless nights alone in these woods, but now The sense of isolation morphed into a suffocating dread. "What do you mean? What's lurking in the shadows?" She hesitated, glancing around as if the trees themselves were listening. "There's a reason for the whispers and the rustles. It's the forest's way of communicating. A warning. The rangers before you, they didn't just vanish. They became part of the pact. They are waiting, Elias, waiting for someone to break the cycle." Her words struck me with the weight of a sledgehammer. I thought of the diary I'd found, its chilling accounts echoing in my mind. "You've seen this happen before?" Mira nodded solemnly. "I've been tracking this for years. I'm not just a wanderer, I'm a guardian. I've seen friends lost to the darkness, swallowed by whatever resides in the heart of these woods. You're the first ranger in a long time willing to listen, and that makes you a target." A distant howl pierced the night, and I instinctively took a step closer to her. "What do you want from me? How can I help?" She looked away, her expression clouded with sorrow. "There's a ritual, a way to sever the bond between the forest and the entity, but you'll need to face the truth of what happened to those who came before you. It won't be easy, it will demand more than just courage. You'll have to confront your own fears, your own past." "What are you talking about?" I felt a swell of frustration. "I'm just a ranger. I wanted to protect this place, not become a part of some ancient struggle." "Maybe that's the problem," she snapped, her eyes flashing. "You think you can keep the past at bay, but it's already within you. You need to embrace the truth of this land, the pain, the sacrifice. Only then can you hope to save it." The tension between us crackled like the static before a storm. I could feel the weight of her words, the burden of an unspoken truth hanging in the air. "And if I refuse?" I challenged, desperate to reclaim some semblance of control. Mira stepped back, her face hardened. "Then you'll become another name on that plaque, another lost guardian." In that moment, the forest seemed to shift, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. I could feel the air thickening and the trees swaying as if in response to our confrontation. My instincts screamed at me to run, but the pull of the mystery, the secrets waiting to be uncovered, held me fast. "Fine," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'll help you. But we need to uncover the truth about what really happened. Here." As we turned to delve deeper into the forest's embrace, I felt a shadow lurking behind us, a reminder that we weren't alone. The night stretched on, and with each step, I could sense the stakes rising. The forest was alive with secrets, and I was about to uncover the heart of its darkness. We ventured deeper into the forest, the shadows pressing closer as if eager to swallow us whole. Mira led the way, her wild hair a beacon of uncertainty against the ever-thickening darkness. My heart raced, not just from fear but from a growing awareness that this journey was unlocking something buried deep within me. Memories I had long thought forgotten. As we walked, the rustling underbrush intensified, almost as if the forest itself was reacting to our presence. I could feel my hands clammy against the rough fabric of my jacket, and with each step the air thickened, pressing down on me like an oppressive weight. I glanced at Mira, her expression a mixture of determination and apprehension. It was clear. She was grappling with her own demons, but I was too consumed by my own unease to ask. "Tell me more about the ritual," I urged, trying to regain focus. "What do we need to do?" "First," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "we need to find the old ranger station. It's where they performed the last ritual, where everything went wrong." Something clenched in my chest at her words. I had heard stories about that station. It was said to be haunted, a place where time warped and twisted. "What happened?" "There," I asked, my breath hitching. Mira hesitated, and in that moment I felt the ground shift beneath me, an unsettling sensation, as if the very earth was aware of our conversation. "It's where they lost their way. They thought they could control the forest, contain it. But the truth is, the forest wanted to be free. It wanted..." She trailed off, and I sensed a deeper fear wrapped in her words. A sudden gust of wind swept through the trees, sending a chill down my spine. I felt something in the air change, a charged tension that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. And then, like a whisper of the past, an image flickered in my mind. A flash of a face I hadn't seen in years. My sister, Lily. Lily, I breathed, the name escaping my lips before I could stop it. Memories flooded back, her laughter, her adventurous spirit, the day she disappeared into these woods. I had spent my life searching for her, convinced she was lost forever, but now it felt like there was a connection I had overlooked. Mira turned sharply, her eyes widening. You're not just connected to this place, you're part of it. Your sister, she was one of them, wasn't she? One of the rangers who vanished? I staggered back, the revelation hitting me like a physical blow. No, that can't be true. I thought she was trapped? Lost? Mira finished for me, her voice tinged with a sorrowful understanding. She became part of the pact, Elias. The forest holds onto its guardians, and it doesn't let go easily. You need to confront what you've buried inside, your own guilt, your own fear of failure. Tears stung my eyes as I faced the truth. The forest wasn't just a backdrop to my life, it was intertwined with my past, my failures. I had tried to protect it, but in my heart, I had always felt that I had failed her. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the night, echoing through the trees and freezing us both in place. I looked at Mira, and we shared a moment of dread. Something was very wrong, and it was coming from the direction of the old ranger station. Elias? Mira said urgently, her voice low but fierce. We need to move now. The forest isn't just alive, it's angry, and it knows you're here. My heart raced as I felt the shadows closing in, the whispers rising to a fever pitch. I had come to uncover the truth about the park, but now I realized that the truth was far more complex, far more dangerous than I had ever imagined. And as the scream echoed again, I knew we had to face not just the forest's darkness, but my own as well. The scream rang out again, a chilling wail that sliced through the canopy of trees, and I felt it reverberate deep within my bones. I turned to Mira, her face pale and resolute. We have to go, she urged, her hand gripping my wrist tightly as she led me forward, deeper into the heart of the forest. Every step felt like I was wading through thick fog, the weight of dread pulling me down. The shadows twisted and writhed around us, and I could almost hear them whispering secrets I wasn't ready to face. What if it's too late? I gasped, the fear of the unknown clawing at my throat. It's never too late, Mira replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. But we need to confront the forest together. It's been waiting for you, Elias. As we approached the ranger station, the trees thinned, revealing a clearing bathed in an eerie silver light. The old structure loomed before us, its cracked windows and peeling paint a testament to years of abandonment. I could feel a pull, an energy radiating from it that was both alluring and terrifying. Stay close, Mira warned, glancing over her shoulder. Whatever is in there is powerful. It can sense fear, and it will use it against you. I nodded, though my heart hammered in my chest. The door creaked open as if inviting us in, and a gust of wind rushed out, carrying with it the faintest echo of laughter, Lily's laughter. I hesitated, the memory freezing me in place, but Mira pressed on. We must go inside. It's the only way to break the cycle. Taking a deep breath, I followed her inside. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, and as we stepped into the darkness, the door slammed shut behind us. I jumped, adrenaline surging through my veins. What was that? Mira's expression hardened. It's the forest. It doesn't want us to leave. Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man with a familiar face. My breath hitched as I recognized him. It was Jack, the ranger who had gone missing years ago, his eyes wild and frantic. You shouldn't have come. You don't know what you're dealing with. Jack, I stammered. You were lost. You were supposed to... I tried to warn them, he interrupted, his voice cracking with desperation. But the forest, it needs a sacrifice. It wants to feed on your guilt, your pain. Mira stepped forward, her voice firm. We're here to confront it, not to give in. We won't let it take him or anyone else. Jack's eyes darted to me, pleading. You have to let go of your fear, Elias. You have to understand the truth about your sister and what happened here. It's the only way to save her. The shadows around us began to writhe, swirling and coiling like living tendrils. I felt them brushing against my skin, whispering my deepest fears, my regrets. Lily, I'm so sorry, I choked out, the weight of my guilt crashing down upon me like a tidal wave. Face it, Mira shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. You can't run from it anymore. With those words, I realized that my struggle wasn't just against the forest or Jack, but against myself. I had been hiding, trapped in a cycle of blame and sorrow. I took a step forward, my heart pounding, feeling the shadows close in, but this time, I wouldn't back down. I had to confront the truth, and whatever awaited me on the other side. As I reached out toward Jack, the air crackled with energy, and I understood. This moment would define everything. I had to choose. Embrace the past and break the cycle, or allow the darkness to consume me. And then, as if the forest itself held its breath, I made my decision. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, fingers outstretched toward Jack. The shadows writhed, pulling at my thoughts, but I focused on his face, the fear, the desperation, and the flicker of hope. I'm here, I whispered, my voice trembling. I'm ready to face it. As soon as I touched his arm, a surge of energy coursed between us, and the room exploded into blinding light. The shadows screamed, their anguished wails echoing in my mind. But amidst the chaos, I felt a warmth enveloping me. I was no longer just Elias, the boy haunted by guilt. I was someone who could fight back. The light coalesced, and I saw visions. Flash before my eyes, Lily's laughter, her smile, our last moments together. I saw the accident, the moment it all changed. I felt the guilt like a weight on my chest, but instead of suffocating me, it transformed into something else, a memory. To honor, not a chain to bind me. I forgive you, I breathed. And with those words, the shadows recoiled. Suddenly, the room was still. Jack blinked, and the frantic wildness faded from his eyes. You did it, he murmured, a look of awe on his face. You broke the cycle. But as I withdrew my hand, the shadows didn't vanish entirely. They lingered, swirling at the edges of my vision, whispering secrets I couldn't decipher. I felt a pang of unease. What had I truly unleashed? Mira, are you okay? I turned to her, but her expression was one of confusion mixed with a glimmer of relief. I'm fine, she said, though her voice trembled. But we need to leave. This place, it's not done with us yet. Jack's form began to flicker, the light around him dimming. I am tied to this forest. I can't leave, but you two can. Just remember, not all darkness is malevolent. Some of it seeks understanding. With a heavy heart, I nodded. I understood that while I had confronted my past, there were layers yet to unravel. The forest still held secrets, and my journey wasn't over. As Jack's figure faded into the shadows, I felt a sense of loss, but also a strange sense of peace. Mira grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the door. We have to go now, before it changes its mind. As we pushed through the door, the forest seemed to sigh, the oppressive weight lifting just slightly. But as we stepped outside, the clearing held an unsettling calm. The moonlight bathed the area, illuminating something glinting in the underbrush, a locket half buried in the leaves. What is that? Mira asked, her voice low as we approached. Knelt, brushing away the dirt to reveal the delicate engraving, Lily's name etched in silver. My heart raced. Where did this come from? Mira looked around, an uneasy expression on her face. It's a piece of your past, Elias, but there's more to it. I can feel it, the forest whispered again, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Yes, I had faced my fears, but the mystery of Lily, of Jack, and of this forest was far from resolved. As we turned to leave, I knew that this was just the beginning. The darkness held more than just pain. It held secrets waiting to be uncovered. and as we ventured back into the night, the echoes of the forest followed us, promising that our story was far from over. I clutched the locket in my palm, its cool surface grounding me amid the swirling darkness. Mira's eyes darted around, scanning the shadows that seemed to pulse with life, as if the forest itself were breathing, waiting for our next move. I felt a chill creep down my spine as the weight of the moment settled over us. "Elias," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What if this is a trap? What if it wants us to find that?" Before I could respond, the ground beneath us trembled, and a low growl resonated from deep within the woods. The tendrils of shadow twisted around us, pulling the darkness into sharp focus. The air thickened, and I could almost hear the whispers grow louder, their words a cacophony of anguish and despair. In that instant, an image flooded my mind. Lily's face, but twisted in agony, her eyes pleading. "You have to make a choice," the shadows hissed, a chorus of disembodied voices. "To save one, you must lose another." I looked at Mira, her expression turning from fear to resolve. "What if we don't have to choose?" I suggested, though deep down I sensed the folly in my words. But the forest didn't relent. It demanded a decision, a sacrifice. I felt the locket grow warm in my hand as if it were alive, pulsing with the weight of our shared past. "I won't let you go, Elias," Mira said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "But what if it costs us both?" In that moment, the shadows surged forward, coiling around us like serpents. I could feel their power wrapping around my heart, squeezing tighter. "Choose!" They roared, and I understood. The darkness was hungry, and it would consume us if I hesitated. With a heavy heart, I made my choice, feeling the locket slip from my fingers as the forest howled in rage. The shadows enveloped Mira, and I reached out, but it was too late. She vanished into the dark, leaving me alone with the weight of my decision. As the echoes faded, the forest began to heal, the shadows retracting into the depths. Yet I stood there, hollow and terrified, knowing that I had saved myself at a catastrophic cost. In the stillness, I realized the truth. The forest had won, and I was now tethered to its darkness. The whispers of the past would never leave me, and neither would the guilt. I turned to leave, the locket gone, but the memory of Mira haunting my every step. The shadows had claimed their due, and I was forever altered, a reluctant guardian of the unspeakable. As I walked away, the forest whispered behind me, promising that my fate and its secrets were far from over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story. Have you ever heard a voice calling you from the shadows, weaving through the trees like a whisper on the wind? I never thought I would, not in the heart of the Chilean Patagonia, where the wildness of nature held dominion over the chaos of the cities I had left behind. Each night in the dense forests of Parque Nacional Torres del Paine, I, Iñaki Vidal, took solace in the solitude, patrolling the winding paths that twisted like the very roots of the ancient trees surrounding me. Yet, on that stormy night, when the rain fell like shards of glass against my skin, everything changed. As I ventured deeper into the tangled embrace of the forest, lightning split the sky, illuminating a trail I had never encountered before. It beckoned me with an inexplicable allure, as if the very earth was inviting me to uncover its secrets. My heart pounded in my chest, a primal rhythm echoing the tempest above. I followed the path, each step heavier, with an unfathomable sense of dread and curiosity. It wasn't long before I stumbled upon a chasm, a gaping maw surrounded by gnarled branches that clawed at the sky. The air grew thick with an unsettling energy, and then, drifting up from the depths, I heard it, a voice, soft yet insistent, calling my name. This unsettling phenomenon was not new to me. The past few months had been a cacophony of the inexplicable. Animals vanished without a trace, leaving only the rustle of leaves in their wake, and campers who wandered too close to the heart of the woods spoke of disembodied voices and shadows that danced just beyond their vision. I had chosen this life, escaping the noise of Santiago for the embrace of the wilderness, yet now it felt as though the very forest was conspiring against me. Each evening I returned to my modest cabin in the village of Puerto Natales, haunted by the unease that had crept into my once peaceful existence. I had unearthed an ancient map hidden within a cave, etched with symbols that spoke of rituals and sacrifices, but any attempt to decipher its meaning led me further down a path of confusion and despair. The isolation that had once brought me solace now felt like a cage, the trees watching my every move, their twisted branches whispering secrets I was not meant to hear. Memories of my past flickered like fireflies in my mind. Echoes of laughter mingled with the shadows of loss. I had left behind a life filled with noise and distraction, but I could not escape the trauma that clung to me like mist. My younger sister Marisol had vanished years ago in these very woods, and the pain of that loss was a wound that never healed. As I grappled with the weight of my grief, I began to understand that the forest's darkness was intertwined with my own. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. The tempest grew fierce, and as I stood at the edge of that abyss, the voice called to me again, deeper and more insistent. It was no longer a mere whisper, but a chorus of memories and fears urging me to confront the truth I had long buried. The ancient force known as El Silente was awakening, its grip tightening around my mind, and I had to decide. Would I succumb to the darkness, or would I fight to keep the malevolence at bay? With the storm raging around me, I felt the choice, looming, a precipice between sacrifice and survival. The forest was alive, and it was only just beginning to reveal its mysteries. The storm howled around me, a living entity that sought to drown out the voice beckoning from the chasm. I was caught in a tempest of emotions, my heart torn between a compulsion to leap into the abyss and the instinct to retreat to safety. But then, in the midst of the chaos, I heard another sound, footsteps crunching through the underbrush, heavy and deliberate. I turned, and there stood a figure half illuminated by the flickering lightning. Iñaki. It was Clara, a fellow ranger and the only other soul I had grown close to since my arrival in Patagonia. She had a fierce spirit and a kindness that cut through my isolation, yet even her presence felt charged with the energy of the forest. "What are you doing out here?" she asked, breathless, eyes wide with concern. "I heard something," I stammered, trying to maintain my composure. "A voice. It's calling me." Clara stepped closer, her brow furrowed in thought. "You shouldn't be alone right now. The woods are restless. I've seen things, shadows darting between the trees, animals behaving strangely. It's as if the forest is alive in a way I've never felt before." My pulse quickened. "You've seen it too?" She nodded, her expression a mix of fear and determination. "We need to leave. Whatever is happening here, it's not just a trick of the mind. It feels ancient, like it's been waiting for someone to stir it from slumber." As we turned to leave, the voice called again, more insistent this time. It echoed through the trees, wrapping around us like smoke. Clara paused, her eyes darting back to the chasm. "What if it's connected to Marisol?" she whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of her words. The mention of my sister sent a jolt through me. "You know about her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I had kept her disappearance a closely guarded secret, a wound too raw to share. "Everyone in Puerto Natales knows. They talk about it in hushed tones, especially after dark," she replied, her gaze softening. "I didn't want to bring it up, but we can't ignore the possibility that the forest wants something from you. It's like it's drawing you in." Shiver ran down my spine. Clara's words struck a chord deep within me. I could feel the pull of the chasm, the echoes of my past colliding with the present. What do we do? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. We need to find answers, Clara said firmly, her resolve hardening. There are legends about El Silente, the guardian spirit of the forest. Some say it takes what it desires, while others believe it offers protection to those who prove themselves worthy. If it knows about your sister. The thought hung in the air, heavy with implications. My stomach twisted with the possibility that the forest might hold the key to her fate. But how do we even begin to confront something like that? I asked, my mind racing with fear and doubt. We find the cave, Clara replied, her eyes gleaming with determination. The one where you found the map. There might be more there that we don't yet understand. We need to uncover its secrets. As we made our way back toward my cabin, the rain lashed against us, filling the air with a sense of urgency. I felt the weight of my past pressing down, the shadows of loss mingling with the specter of the forest. Each step felt like a descent deeper into the unknown, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was watching, waiting for us to make our move. That night, as we gathered supplies for our journey into the heart of the woods, the silence between us grew thick with unspoken fears. Clara's presence was a comfort, yet I couldn't ignore the tension that simmered beneath the surface. The forest was alive, and it was only just beginning to reveal its mysteries. With the storm still raging outside, I knew we were on the brink of something monumental, something that would change everything, for better or for worse. The voice would not be silenced, and I had a feeling it held the answers I had been searching for all along. As Clara and I prepared for our journey, I felt a gnawing doubt creep into my mind. The storm outside raged on, but it wasn't just the weather that unsettled me. The voice from the chasm echoed in my thoughts, weaving in and out like a haunting melody, and I began to wonder if I was losing my grip on reality. "Do you really believe it's connected to Marisol?" I asked, cutting through the silence as I packed my gear. Clara paused, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I don't know," she admitted, her tone cautious. "But the forest has a way of revealing truths that we might not be ready to confront." I tried to push down the unsettling memories of that day, the day Marisol disappeared. I had been so focused on my own ambitions, my own dreams of adventure, that I hadn't noticed her slipping away. Had the forest taken her? Was it somehow feeding off my guilt, my fear? "Maybe I should have been there for her," I murmured, my voice barely audible over the storm. "Maybe if I had—" "Stop," Clara interjected, her voice sharp. "You can't blame yourself for what happened. No one knew." But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had ignored something vital, something that might have changed the course of our lives. As I looked at Clara, I saw a flicker of something. Fear? Anger? That made me question how much she truly understood about my sister and the secrets we shared. Just then, a brilliant flash of lightning illuminated the cabin, casting eerie shadows on the walls. For a split second, I thought I saw a figure standing just outside the window, cloaked in darkness. My heart raced as I turned to look, but there was nothing there. "Did you see that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What?" Clara replied, her eyes wide with concern. "That figure. I swear I saw someone." Clara shook her head, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. "You're just shaken up. The storm is playing tricks on you." But I wasn't so sure. The voice grew louder in my mind, a siren's call that was becoming impossible to ignore. It felt like a tether to my past, one that was unraveling the very fabric of my sanity. "Maybe it's not just the forest," I said slowly, the realization dawning. "On me. What if I'm the one who's changing? What if the forest is revealing something about me, my own guilt, my own rage?" Clara's expression shifted, revealing a flicker of understanding. "You mean, like it's bringing out your darkest fears?" "Exactly," I replied, my heart racing. "What if it's not just about Marisol? What if this is about me facing all the things I've buried?" Suddenly, the ground beneath us trembled, a low rumble that reverberated through the cabin. The storm intensified, and I felt the air grow thick with tension. Clara looked at me, her eyes wide with alarm. "What's happening?" I don't know, I said, panic rising in my chest. But I think we've awakened something. Something that wants to be heard. And then, just as suddenly, the rumbling stopped. The air turned still, pregnant with anticipation. Maybe we should reconsider, Clara suggested, her voice low. If this is connected to your past, if it's digging up things meant to stay buried, but my resolve hardened. No, we can't turn back now. I need to know the truth. About Marisol, about myself. Whatever is waiting in that forest, I have to face it. Little did I know what awaited us next would shatter everything I thought I understood about my sister, the forest, and the very essence of my own identity. As we stepped outside, the storm lashed against us like 1,000 angry fists. Rain poured from the sky, drenching us instantly, but it was the electric tension in the air that sent shivers down my spine. Clara and I moved cautiously toward the edge of the forest. The trees loomed like ancient guardians, their twisted branches clawing at the sky. I could feel it, the pull of the chasm, the weight of all I had buried. With every step, the voice grew louder, a cacophony of whispers that merged into a singular cry. "Marisol," I shouted into the storm, my voice swallowed by the wind. "Where are you?" Clara hesitated behind me, her eyes darting back toward the cabin. "Are you sure this is what you want?" she asked, her voice strained. "We don't know what's out there. What if it's dangerous?" Dangerous? The word felt foreign on my tongue. I was the danger. I had been all along. What's more dangerous is not knowing. I can't keep running from this. Just as I stepped deeper into the shadows of the trees, I heard a rustling behind me. I turned to find Clara standing frozen, her eyes wide as she stared into the darkness. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, fear tremoring in her voice. Before I could respond, a figure emerged from the underbrush, tall and cloaked, its face hidden beneath the hood. My heart raced as I instinctively took a step back. "Who are you?" I demanded. My voice trembling, the figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face. It was Marisol, or at least a specter of her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "You came," she said, her voice echoing like a haunting melody. "You finally came to find me." "Marisol," I gasped, disbelief flooding my senses. "Is it really you?" But the moment was shattered as Clara let out a cry. "No, it can't be her. This isn't right." "What do you mean?" I shot back, torn between hope and dread. "She's here. I have to know what happened." "Listen to me," Clara shouted, stepping between us. "This isn't your sister. It's a manifestation of your guilt, your fears. It's using her to trap you." The specter laughed, a sound that chilled my bones. "They all said you would come. You think you can change the past? You think you can save her?" I felt a wave of despair wash over me. Clara was right. The forest had become a mirror, reflecting my darkest fears. I had to confront this entity, not just for Marisol, but for myself. "You don't own me," I said, my voice rising against the storm. "I will not be your prisoner." The figure recoiled, the laughter fading into a low growl, then faced the truth. It roared, the ground quaking beneath us once more. I felt the weight of those words pressing down on me, the culmination of my guilt, my anger, and my fear coalescing into a singular moment. I had to make a choice, confront the darkness or allow it to consume me. "Clara, stand back," I shouted, my determination igniting a fire within me. I took a step forward, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'm ready to face you. Show me what you want." And in that moment, the storm roared, the chasm trembled, and I could feel the very essence of the forest pulling me into its depths. Whatever was waiting for me in the shadows, I was prepared to confront it, once and for all. As I stepped into the heart of the storm, the malevolent figure shrieked, a sound that pierced through the chaos like a knife. The ground beneath me surged with energy, and I braced myself, drawing upon every ounce of strength I had. "Show me!" I screamed, my voice echoing off the ancient trees. The air thickened with tension, and suddenly the shadows contorted around me, revealing twisted images of my past, memories I had buried deep. I saw Marisol, her laughter ringing like a bell, And then the dark day that had shattered our lives, the crash, the screams, the silence. I felt the weight of grief pressing against my chest, suffocating me. Face it! The specter's voice thundered, and I was drawn into a vision, a swirling vortex of despair where I stood, powerless, watching as the car careened off the road. I reached out, desperate to change the course of events, but my hands grasped only air. "No," I cried, my voice breaking. I wouldn't allow this entity to drown me in my sorrow. "You don't control me." With a surge of defiance, I summoned the memories of our happiest moments together, the warmth of her embrace, the joy of our childhood adventures. I pushed against the darkness, feeding it with the light of love instead of fear. The specter writhed, its form flickering like a dying flame. In an explosive burst of energy, the figure shattered, fragments of shadow scattering into the storm. For a heartbeat, the world stood still, and I felt a profound silence envelop me. I had confronted my past, but the victory was bittersweet. I stood there, drenched and trembling, my heart aching with the weight of loss. Clara rushed to my side, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "You did it," she said, her voice barely audible over the fading storm. But at what cost? I looked down at my hands, trembling, not just from the cold, but from the emotional scars that would take time to heal. I faced her, but I still feel her. I still feel everything. As the storm began to recede, the forest felt different. Quieter, yet an unsettling energy lingered. I could sense that not all was resolved. The shadows still danced at the edges of my vision, whispering secrets I couldn't yet decipher. "Look!" Clara pointed to the ground where the specter had dissolved. A strange, shimmering sigil glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was a mark, a clue perhaps, that this battle was only a prelude to something more sinister lurking beneath the surface. "Do you think?" Clara began, her voice trailing off, and I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "I don't know," I admitted, my heart heavy with the weight of new mysteries. The specter had been banished, but remnants of its presence lingered, as if it had merely been a harbinger of something greater. As we turned to leave the forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that Marisol wasn't entirely gone. I felt her spirit entwined with the forest, a guardian caught between worlds, and what of Clara? Her own fears were now entwined with mine, her face pale, as she grappled with the reality we had faced together. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together, I promised. But even as the words left my lips, a chill ran through me. The chasm remained open, its depths whispering my name, and I knew this was only the beginning of a far more complex journey, one that would lead us deeper into the unknown. With heavy hearts, we stepped back into the world, knowing that some shadows can never fully be dispelled, and some mysteries, once awakened, are not easily forgotten. As we stepped back into the world, the forest behind us began to shimmer. The air shifted, and in that moment I felt a strange pull, as if the very ground beneath me was trying to reclaim its lost shadows. It was then that I noticed Clara standing still, her gaze fixed behind me, her expression a blend of fear and fascination. "Clara?" I called, but my voice felt distant, muffled by an encroaching sense of dread. With a sudden rush, the shimmering sigil on the ground pulsed violently, and a dark wind swept through the trees, carrying with it a deep, resonant laughter that chilled me to my core. I turned back to see the spectral figure reforming, but it was different now, larger, more menacing, its eyes burning with an ancient fury. "No!" I yelled, stepping forward, but I was too late. Clara's eyes widened in terror as shadows wrapped around her, pulling her toward the darkness. "Clara!" I lunged, but the force was too strong. Her scream echoed in the night, a haunting sound that tore through my heart. In that instant, I realized the truth. The specter had been waiting for an opening, a chance to reclaim its power, and it had found it in Clara. I was left standing there, helpless as the shadows swallowed her whole, merging her into their depths. The forest fell silent, the storm now a mere whisper, but I could feel the remnants of Clara within the darkness. I had faced my past, but in doing so, I had unwittingly unleashed a more terrifying fate. The laughter echoed in my mind, a cruel reminder that I had not only lost Marisol, but now Clara as well. As I staggered back, the sigil glowed brighter, pulsating like a heartbeat. And I understood. The battle was far from over. The forest was a prison for lost souls, and I had just become its newest guardian. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. And leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story. Have you ever heard a voice that wasn't there? As I stood in the heart of the Daintree rainforest, the question echoed in my mind, mingling with the ominous crackle of a distant storm. The trees loomed tall and ancient around me, their gnarled branches stretching like skeletal fingers toward a sky lit by flickers of lightning. I was supposed to find solace in this wild, untamed land, but instead I felt a chill creeping beneath my skin, a sense of being watched by eyes hidden in the shadows. I am Declan Wren, a park ranger who traded the chaotic streets of Cairns for the quiet whispers of the forest. For years I had worked as a detective, delving into the darker corners of humanity, but the weight of my past, of cases unsolved and lives lost, had become unbearable. I sought refuge among the towering trees and vibrant flora of Daintree, hoping to escape the ghosts that haunted me. Yet, it seemed, I had simply traded one kind of haunting for another. In the stillness of the night, the sounds of the forest became a symphony of the strange. It started with faint whispers, unintelligible yet insistent, weaving through the rustling leaves. I dismissed it at first, attributing it to the wind or my imagination. But then came the laughter, soft, childlike, echoing in the distance, chilling my blood as it bounced off the thick trunks. I began to feel that the forest was alive in ways I couldn't understand, as if the very air was charged with secrets waiting to be uncovered. My unease deepened when I stumbled upon a hidden cave, tucked beneath a sprawling fig tree. Inside, the walls were adorned with ancient rock art, figures caught in a dance of shadows, their forms twisting and writhing as if they were alive. Some depicted people being consumed by darkness, their mouths agape in silent screams. I felt an inexplicable pull toward the drawings, an unsettling familiarity that gnawed at the edges of my memory. The storm intensified, and as I made my way back along the winding path, lightning flashed, illuminating an object half buried in the dirt. A battered old recorder, its surface worn and scratched, seemed out of place in the wild. I picked it up, intrigued despite the gnawing sense of dread swelling in my gut. When I pressed play, the crackling sound of static filled the air, followed by a voice, my own voice. "Don't let them hear you." My heart raced as the words echoed through the trees, chilling me to the core. Who had recorded this, and why? The gravity of the moment hit me like a punch to the gut. The forest, with its alluring beauty and hidden perils, suddenly felt like a trap, one from which there might be no escape. I recalled the stories whispered among the locals, tales of spirits known as the echoes, fragments of souls trapped between, the living and the dead, drawn to sound like moths to a flame. The legends warned of their hunger, their thirst for the voices of the living. My instinct screamed at me to turn back, to find safety in silence, but the forest had become a labyrinth, and I was already ensnared. As the wind howled through the trees, I realized the choice before me, to embrace the silence and risk fading into the shadows, or to confront the echoes of my past, even if it meant awakening an ancient darkness. But as I glanced over my shoulder, the weight of unseen eyes bore down on me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was no longer alone. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As the shadows lengthened and the storm raged overhead, I found myself stumbling deeper into the heart of the forest, the weight of the recorder heavy in my pocket. The laughter that had once felt like a mere figment of my imagination now echoed against the backdrop of the thunder, a haunting melody that seemed to beckon me forward. I was torn between the urge to flee and the inexplicable compulsion to uncover the truth behind the voices that seemed to weave through the trees like mist. Then, in a clearing bathed in the flickering light of lightning, I saw her, a figure standing motionless, her long hair cascading like a waterfall down her back. She appeared almost ethereal, dressed in a flowing white dress that billowed gently as if caught in a breeze that didn't exist. My heart raced as I stepped closer, drawn by a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Are you lost?" she asked, her voice soft, yet carrying an edge of something urgent. I was just exploring," I stammered, my instincts screaming for me to retreat. But there was something familiar about her, as if I had known her in a dream. I heard voices. Her expression shifted, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of recognition in her eyes. "The echoes," she whispered, glancing around as if expecting them to materialize from the shadows. "They're drawn to you now, aren't they?" "Who are you?" I demanded, my pulse quickening. "What do you know about them?" "My name is Alara," she replied, her gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "I've been watching you, Declan. You're not the first to hear them, but you might be the last if you don't leave this place." "Leave?" I echoed incredulously. "I can't just walk away. There's something here, something I need to understand." Her eyes narrowed, a mixture of concern and fear dancing within them. "Understanding may cost you everything. The echoes want your voice. They want to consume your memories, your pain, and they will if you let them." At that moment I felt the ground beneath me shift, a subtle tremor that rippled through the earth. I turned, scanning the tree line, and noticed shadows darting just beyond my vision, figures that slipped in and out of the darkness, their forms barely discernible. "Stay close to me," Elora said, her voice urgent now. "They'll try to lure you away. You must resist their call." I felt a sudden wave of vulnerability wash over me. In a world where I had always been the protector, the one who kept others safe, I now stood at the mercy of forces I could barely comprehend. "What do you know about my past?" I challenged, my voice trembling with both fear and resentment. "Why do you care?" "Because I've seen what happens to those who ignore the warnings," she replied, her expression softening. "I lost someone to the echoes, a friend, and I won't let that happen to you." Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed through the trees and the ground trembled violently. A massive branch fell, narrowly missing us. I glanced at Alara, who looked terrified but determined. "We need to move," she urged, grabbing my arm. "The storm is awakening them." As we sprinted deeper into the forest, I could feel the weight of the darkness pressing in around us. The laughter grew louder, more insistent, and I was acutely aware that the forest was no longer just a backdrop to my escape. It had become a living entity, a labyrinth that sought to ensnare us. My mind raced with questions. Why was I hearing these voices? What connection did I have to the echoes? And why did Alara seem to know so much about my past? The storm raged on, but it was the storm within me that threatened to consume my very being as we hurtled deeper into the shadows. I knew one thing for certain. I had to confront the echoes, not just to save myself, but to unearth the truth buried within the walls of the forest and within my own haunted mind. The very essence of my being felt like it was at stake, and I was determined to uncover whatever dark secret lay ahead. But as the echo of my own voice filled the air once more, a foreboding realization washed over me. There were far greater dangers lurking in the depths of the Daintree than I had ever imagined. As we raced through the dense underbrush, my mind whirled with a tempest of thoughts and emotions. The laughter of the echoes surrounded us, weaving a tapestry of sound that both thrilled and terrified me. I could feel it pulling at the edges of my consciousness, teasing out memories I thought I had buried. What had I hidden from myself? Why? Did the forest resonate with my fears? Alara kept glancing back at me, her expression a mix of urgency and concern. "We need to find shelter," she urged, her voice strained. "The echoes are drawn to your fear." "Why me?" I shouted over the roar of the storm. "What do they want with me?" Ilara hesitated, her features momentarily shadowed by doubt. "You carry a burden, Declan, one that connects you to them. Your past, it's intertwined with the echoes." "What do you mean?" I pressed, my heart pounding. The ground trembled again and I stumbled, nearly falling. "Years ago, there was an accident," she began, her voice trembling as she recalled the memory. "You lost someone dear to you, someone you never truly let go. The echoes thrive on grief, feeding off the emotions that linger. They can sense it in you." I felt the breath hitch in my throat. My sister, Leela. I had tried to forget that day, the rain-soaked roads, the screeching tires, the way the world had shattered in an instant. I had always blamed myself for not being there, for not protecting her. But could that grief really open some dark door to this haunting? "That's not possible," I said, shaking my head as if the action could dispel the truth. "I've moved on. I have to have." "Have you?" she challenged, her voice softening. "Your memories are like threads in a tapestry. They're all connected, Declan. The echoes know your pain and are using it to trap you." Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the clearing, and I turned to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness, its form flickering like a candle flame. I squinted, straining to see through the downpour, and a wave of recognition washed over me. "Lila?" I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure smiled, a haunting, familiar smile that twisted my insides. "You've come so far, brother, but you're still lost, aren't you?" "No," I gasped, stepping back. "This can't be real." The laughter of the echoes crescendoed, wrapping around me like chains. I felt my sanity fraying at the edges. Had I truly lost my mind? Or was Lila's spirit somehow trapped here, feeding the echoes with my suffering? Ilara's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts. "It's not her, Declan. It's a manifestation of your grief. You have to fight it." But how could I? The very essence of my trauma had taken on a physical form, one that beckoned me with the promise of closure I had craved for so long. Was torn between the desire to embrace my sister and the desperate need to break free from this nightmarish illusion. "Declan!" Ilara shouted, her voice laced with urgency. "You can't let it take you. You must remember the truth." I felt, my heart racing, the weight of my past crashing against the present. The storm roared louder, and the shadows closed in around me. As Lila's figure extended a hand, I realized that I was standing on the precipice of two realities, one that sought to consume me, and another that held a glimmer of hope. Just then, the ground shook violently once more, and the laughter turned into a deafening chorus. In that moment, I understood. If I wanted to escape the echoes and save myself, I would have to confront the darkness within me, and perhaps, just perhaps, I could bring Lila's spirit with me. But as I prepared to face my past, I felt a deep, unsettling truth settle in my gut. The echoes were not just after me, they were after something much deeper, something that would change everything I thought I knew. The laughter of the echoes swelled, an eerie symphony that clawed at the edges of my mind. My heart raced as I stood face to face with the apparition of my sister, Lila. The rain lashed down, soaking me to the bone, but I barely felt it. All I could focus on was the haunting familiarity of her smile, twisted with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Declan," she said, her voice a melody woven with sorrow, "you've been so alone. Let me help you find peace." I shuddered, torn between the longing to hold her once more and the gnawing fear that this was a trap. "You're not real," I whispered, the words sounding foreign and hollow. "You can't be. I lost you." "Did you?" she asked, tilting her head as if my denial amused her. "Or have you just hidden away the truth? The guilt, the regret, it's all still there, festering. Let me show you." Ilara stepped forward, her eyes fierce with determination. "Declan, don't listen to her. She's not your sister. She's a reflection of your pain. You need to break free. Remember who you are." But the shadows around us surged, and I felt the ground tremble beneath my feet. As Alara's words echoed in my ears, I found myself drowning in the memories of that fateful day. The sound of screeching tires, the blaring horn, my frantic calls that never reached her. I had been a coward, hiding in the safety of my own despair. Fight. "It, Declan!" Alara shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. "You have the power to change this." I looked back at Lila, the ethereal glow of her figure flickering like a dying flame. "You're just a shadow," I said, forcing strength into my voice. "You don't own my memories. I won't let you take me." Lila's smile faltered, and for a moment I saw something darker lurking in her eyes. "You think you can escape? The echoes are everywhere, feeding on your sorrow. You're not as powerful as you believe?" "No," I shouted, clenching my fists. "You're wrong. I am stronger than my grief. I am not defined by it." The ground shook violently, and the laughter erupted into a cacophony of voices, all taunting me, all echoing my deepest fears. But I stood my ground, drawing on Ilara's unwavering support. I won't be a prisoner of my past any longer. With a surge of determination, I reached deep within myself, seeking the light that had been buried beneath layers of grief. I called out to Lila, not with despair but with love, my voice steady and clear. "I remember you, and I love you, but I have to let you go." As I spoke, the shadows around me began to wane, the laughter fading into whispers. Lila's figure flickered, a semblance of sadness crossing her face. "If you let me go, will you truly be free?" "Yes," I breathed, feeling the weight of the world lift just slightly as the storm began to calm. "And I promise to carry your memory with me, not as a chain, but as a part of who I am." In that moment I felt the connection between us shift. The echoes recoiled, the laughter turning to a mournful wail, and I knew I was on the brink of something extraordinary. The darkness that had threatened to consume me began to dissipate, revealing a path forward, a path of healing. But as the last remnants of the echoes faded, a new figure emerged from the shadows, eyes glinting with an unsettling curiosity. My breath caught in my throat. I had not yet faced the true source of my fears. I turned to Ilara, my heart racing once more as I steeled myself for what lay ahead. The battle was far from over. The air shifted, heavy with the remnants of Lila's presence, and I felt a surge of energy course through me, a bitter-sweet victory against the echoes. But as I turned to face the new figure emerging from the shadows, the weight of my triumph began to settle like lead in my chest. It was a man, tall and cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glimmered like shards of glass. He stepped forward, his expression a mix of intrigue and menace. "Impressive," he said, his voice smooth as silk yet laced with an unsettling chill. "But do you truly believe you've escaped?" I swallowed hard, my heart pounding, as I fought to steady my breath. I had faced the ghosts of my past, and though I felt lighter, the scars remained, etched deep within my soul. "I don't fear you," I replied, though my voice wavered. "Oh, but you should," he said, a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. "The echoes are only a fraction of the darkness that lurks beyond. They feed on your pain, yes, but they are merely a gateway. You've merely scratched the surface." Ilara stepped beside me, her presence a shield against the encroaching shadows. "We won't let you harm him. We've faced the echoes. We can face whatever you are." The man chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "You misunderstand. I'm not here to harm. I'm here to offer a choice. Declan, you've tasted freedom, but the darkness will call you back. You can join it, or you can keep fighting, knowing that every victory will come at a cost." I felt a chill run down my spine. The confrontation with Lila had left me battered, both physically and emotionally. The scars on my heart were deep, and the thought of losing myself again terrified me. Yet I couldn't succumb to despair. Not now, not after everything I'd fought for. "Whatever choice I make, it's mine to bear," I said, my voice steadying. "I won't be a pawn in your game," the man's expression darkened. "So be it, Declan. But know this, the echoes are whispering your name, and your journey is far from over." With that, He melted back into the shadows, leaving an unsettling silence in his wake. I breathed a sigh of relief, yet the threat lingered, like a storm, on the horizon. I turned to Alara, her eyes wide with concern. "What just happened?" "We need to regroup," she said, her voice firm. "We can't let our guard down. The echoes were just one manifestation of a deeper darkness." As we made our way back, I could feel the emotional scars from my encounter with Lila. Though I had found a semblance of peace, I knew I'd carry the weight of that moment with me. The scars would shape me, but they wouldn't define me. In the distance, I caught sight of a flickering light, a figure standing under a street lamp, silhouetted against the rain. A familiar face emerged from the shadows. It was Mia, my childhood friend. She looked lost, her eyes filled with questions I couldn't yet answer. "Declan, is it true?" she called, her voice trembling. "Did you really see her?" I hesitated, the truth heavy on my tongue. "Yes, but it's complicated. Before I could finish, the shadows shifted again, and I realized that the consequences of my confrontation reached far beyond myself. Mia would be affected by what I had faced, and I wasn't sure how to protect her from the darkness that still lingered. "Whatever happens next," I said, a newfound determination rising within me, "we face it together." As we stood there, the rain began to fall again, washing away the remnants of my past, but leaving new questions in its wake. The darkness was still out there, and I could feel its pull. But now, I was ready to confront whatever awaited us. The echoes may have been silenced, but the battle had only just begun. As I stood under the flickering street lamp, Mia's worried gaze piercing through the rain-soaked night, I felt an unfamiliar sensation wash over me, a pull, like a tether, binding me to the darkness that had just threatened to engulf us. A whisper, soft yet insistent, danced at the edges of my consciousness. I had fought the echoes and faced the shadowy figure, but something deep within me yearned for more, a deeper understanding of the darkness. The air thickened, and I could feel the weight of the supernatural pressing in, urging me to embrace it. "Declan?" Mia's voice shattered my reverie, but as I turned to her, the choice lay stark before me. I could either remain tethered to the mundane, to the fear and uncertainty, or I could step forward, merge with the very essence of the darkness that had haunted me. Before I could articulate my thoughts, the shadows swirled around me, inviting and intoxicating. I took a breath and stepped closer to the chaos, feeling the pull of the unknown envelop me. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. "Mia, But the words faded as the darkness wrapped around my consciousness like a shroud. In that moment, I became one with the shadows, my essence intertwining with the echoes and the forces that had tormented me. I was no longer just Declan. I was a part of the phenomenon itself, a guardian and a harbinger of the supernatural. I could feel the weight of the scars on my soul dissipate, replaced by a power I had never imagined. But as I embraced this new identity, I caught a glimpse of Mia's face, her expression frozen in horror. The realization struck me. By merging with the darkness, I had unwittingly placed her in its path. "Declan!" she screamed, the sound slicing through the chaos. But it was too late. I was now the echoes, and the darkness craved more than just my own pain. It sought to consume everything I loved. As the shadows surged, I felt an urge to protect her, to shield her from the very force I had become. But the choice had been made, and the line between savior and predator blurred. I was caught in a cycle of power and despair, forever intertwined with the darkness I'd once fought against. And so, as the rain fell, I understood my fate. I was both the keeper of secrets and the harbinger of nightmares. The battle had only just begun, and the true horror of my choice was yet to unfold. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.